Hi, I'm Shiv.
And I'm Chitra.
We are the co hosts of this show, Software People Stories.
We're happy to bring you stories of people associated with software as makers or consumers.
In every episode, we talk to people on their own personal and professional journeys.
Their interests and approach to work and life in a free flowing conversational format. We hope that you will be able to draw your inspiration from their experiences and insights.
These podcasts are made possible by PM Power Consulting, who have helped individuals, teams, and organizations on their delivery excellence journeys. Hi, welcome to this edition of the Software People Stories. Today, I'm in conversation with Visweswaran SK, popularly known as Viswes, and we talk about a lot of things. Viswes is a veteran of the IT industry, having started his career sometime in the mid 70s, and with a keen interest on technologies related to database management systems. He also has other interests, and from his experience, he shares how working with punch cards made him a disciplined developer, and how even while writing a database system, he had to fit everything, including the application, in 256 kilobytes. And the surprising thing was that some of the code that he wrote was actively in use even 10 years after it was first released. He talks about his personal style of programming as well as the impact of agile ways of working and how that is relevant in today's world. The implications of big data on database thinking is also something that we touch upon. And finally, some of his interests outside of software. And overall, all my interactions with Viswesh have been very, very energetic, and I've always had something to learn. And this conversation is no exception. Listen on. Hi Vishwesh, welcome to this episode of the Software People Stories.
Hello, Shiv.
Yeah,
Nice to be here.
yeah, and I was mainly interested in talking to you because of the vast experience that you have, and in all our interactions, there's always been something that I have learned. You look at things very differently, and a lot of detail that you go into, even if it is anything that is new.
Thank you.
So we start the episode with the guest doing a self-introduction first, as to how you got into IT or software, and then any other interest that you have.
Okay. Hello, Shiv. My name is Visweswaran. I graduated from IISc. That's where I got introduced to computers for the first time. That's when I saw a computer occupying a whole building. That was IBM 360.
I also worked on the same computer before it was sent to Baroda.
Yeah. In fact, in those days, we used. In fact, I only in second or third year, I could get hold of a few punch cards so that I could do some programming. There were no terminals then, only punch cards. Anyway, that was a good experience. But the way I got into the computer I was lucky enough to get into IIT Madras.
Oh, okay.
Computer science and tech after I did my BE. And that's when I got into computer discipline more seriously.
Okay.
And even there, we had to use the punch cards. But they had a bigger computer, IBM 370.
Okay.
And we used to use a language, it's a modified Fortran, Lot5.
Okay.
And since we are computer science students, we used to get 1 hour of run every day. So we could submit multiple times the same job card. We don't have to wait until the next day to get the results.
Okay.
And otherwise, after that, that was in the year 1975 to 78. So that was my introduction to computers. And after that, I joined a company in Bombay. One of all computer companies, those were in Bombay.
Okay.
And I joined a company called Hinditron.
Mm-hmm.
They were representatives for digital,
Okay.
one of the biggest mini computer vendors those days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there I got to work on a lot of new programming things.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have those mini computers. We used to do programming in a language called BASIC,
Okay.
and the operating system, although digital computers, we had in-house PDP-11,
Okay.
and the operating system we used to use those days were RSTS-E.
Oh, okay.
And although digital used to have different OS,
Mm-hmm.
the RSTS was more suitable for business use, better suited than RSX or RT11.
Okay.
So in-house we used to use RSTS,
Mm-hmm.
and we had this was in a Bombay Heroes building, and the configuration we had those days was a PDP-1134 with memory of 128 KB.
Oh, yeah.
And we had two removable disk drives.
Mm-hmm.
Each had a capacity of 80 MB,
Wow.
and it used to be like a huge washing machine. So it was interesting those days. Also, we had two tape drives where most of the data when needed were backed up.
Okay.
That was my first thing. The thing is, those days, since it's the initial days, we had to develop lots and lots of tools.
Okay.
And so, one of the tools that I wrote those days was a printer spooler.
Oh, okay.
Later on, we developed various other tools, but this was one of the first tools that we developed.
Okay.
Because those days, one of our client was a electricity board. They used to print electricity bills
Okay.
overnight.
Uh-huh.
So we use those spoolers to print.
Okay.
That was the thing. So those are my initial days in computers.
Okay.
And later on, I went to US for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Worked on a couple of customer applications. One of the applications that I worked on was accounts payable.
Okay.
It was a company called Amcor.
Mm.
And that's where I got introduced to more seriously on database systems.
Okay.
So since the PDP-11 and the RSTS environment didn't have too much of, they were not really used that much in the commercial environment. Most of the commercial applications were using IBM.
Okay.
But this Amcor, they used to use PDP-11
Okay.
and RSTS. They had to develop an in-house database system,
Wow.
and used to be called Ambase.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I got introduced to the database environment.
Okay.
And so I kind of became more interested in databases in
Okay.
those days.
Mm-hmm.
After I came back, that was in early 80s, the Hinditron company where I used to work started selling a PDP-11, that is Indian version of PDP-11, that's called SN.
Okay.
And for those machines, they needed a database system.
Okay.
So they thought they could develop one.
Hmm.
And that's where I got involved in development of the database system.
Wow.
And of course, Dorai
Mm-hmm.
was the architect and mentor for this particular project.
Okay.
And we, as a team of about another 6 of us, developed a project. Developed a database system. This database system was named Gemini, Generalized Multi-User Interactive Database.
Okay.
For this, what we did was, about all 6 of us rented a house in Mysore.
Wow.
And then because getting a computer time was difficult, So we got a computer time from one of our clients.
Okay.
And the time was available only in the night. So we would write the program during daytime.
Okay.
And then enter into the system and develop the database in the nights.
Oh. Okay.
And this this development took almost more than 10 months in myself. The key aspect of this database development was interesting. In the sense, the main challenge we had was we had only a total memory of 256 KB.
That is double what you had on the
Yeah.
360.
And the 256 KB included the OS memory,
Oh. Okay.
C library memory, our program, and the data.
Okay.
So we had to manage almost everything within these 256.
And the applications
kilobytes.
also need to run.
Everything.
Okay.
So it was pretty big challenge for us managing the entire application development within this memory. So we had our own memory management code that we had to develop. The other thing was another challenge that we had was we wanted to develop this particular software using a C language.
Okay.
And there was no native C compiler.
Oh.
So those days we had something similar to the open software. Within the digital world there was a DECUS group.
Okay.
So there was a DECUS, somebody had in his own free time developed a C compiler. It used to be called DECUS-C. We used that.
Okay.
It was interesting for somebody to have developed such a huge compiler software those days in his free time was really something. So we developed that particular database management system using that DECUS-C compiler.
Okay.
RSTs, and there were not really any competing database software at that time. The other databases from digital came later.
Okay.
Like even they had a package called DBMS, basically it's based called Codacil based network databases. All those things came way later.
Okay.
So this particular thing was a pretty big challenging effort. After that, I was involved in the enhancement and maintenance of that software for almost another 3-4 years.
Okay.
And gratifying thing was that there is an incident that I need to probably recollect. Is that almost after 10 years, okay, I think I was working for Global here.
Okay.
I got a call from somebody asking whether I know somebody who has a experience in wax.
Okay.
I asked why. I said, I don't know. They said one of the customer wanted to port the Gemini database to a wax environment. That indirectly meant that they were using that for almost 10 years.
Wow.
So that was pretty gratifying. Developing this particular thing, another that if I had to redo it, I probably would have chosen to adopt a standard, which we did. The standard would have been relational database. But it was kind of, although it is a relational based database management system, it was not. So if I had to redo it, probably would have considered adopting a standard. So those were my initial days in Inditron. After that, I joined a company called Coromandel Software, where they had developed a relational database. So I was, for some time, I worked with them in adding features. I was not there in the initial stage of the development. So I just added to the team and added some features. That was the second phase. That is where I was. And then early 90s, I went to the US for some time, worked on a couple of projects, and came back and joined Global. Initially, those days it used to be called Coromandel Solutions.
Yeah.
Coromandel. We went to multiple names.
Yeah.
So that's where I met you also.
Yeah.
And Gopal. And I've been with them since '94.
Mhm.
And within global, this has been pretty good.
Mm.
Worked on different projects.
Mhm.
Most challenging has been to be part of the huge project Cosmos.
No, okay.
So there, I was involved in the user end of the database.
Okay.
I was involved in the database design and developing the reporting framework.
Okay. Nice. A lot of things. Some curiosity questions. What is the configuration of your laptop today?
In fact, my power is leave aside the laptop. My phone is more equipped than the computers that we used to use those days. In fact, I migrated from punch card to terminals to now using touch interface based systems. Things have moved on.
Yeah. So talking of the database and the application side, and I guess when you started, even though you said you were writing on BASIC and trying to look at C and all that, pretty much very close to the machine language.
Yes.
And then as the programming technologies themselves evolved, when people move more towards visual programming and all that, did you find that useful for you personally from your style of working? And did you see any change in the way, let's say, programmers approached programming?
Definitely, in the sense that initially, the way I look at it is that the development those days were more. One is the environment itself, in the sense that we didn't get much of a computer time. So we had to be at our desk most of the time, preparing our code, either in a punch card or in a printout, and then ensure that they are perfect. As less error, error-free as possible.
Yeah.
That is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it, the coding style itself. The first part is that we moved from punch card to the terminal where we could correct the code as and when things happen. When we interpreted code, we could always correct the code interactively. Whereas the current system, or maybe those days it used to be, I would look at it as more of a procedural.
Okay.
We need to ensure how the programming or data flow or the logic will flow. The way I look at right now is more of an event based. What happens when something happens, how to react to it. So it's a kind of small bits and pieces of procedure, but respond to events. Event could be anything in terms of basically triggers, trigger based. So it's kind of, if you look at those days in a big, you basically have an idea of the entire thing. Now you're kind of, I think you're confined to small portions of code and how they react to a particular event or that's the way I look at it. Although it's still procedural to within that context, but you don't have a high level picture.
So is this more in terms of the microservice architecture, or even otherwise in general you see the trend of writing only small pieces of code which are stateless?
I think there are various reasons for that. In the sense that the support system that is available now, or the supporting code, they almost have everything. We just need to write some small portions and make use of the existing let's say code, infrastructure code, framework, other things. Whereas those days we almost had to write the entire thing. So I would say there's a kind of slowly things are moved away from writing the entire system to writing only portions of the code that you need to implement and fitting into the existing framework.
Yeah, that's interesting because one question that I wanted to ask you was how did you test the database that you wrote?
we those days we used to have, we used to test it by writing some application code which will call our database system,
Okay.
and also take care of basically have a database system or database data
Data. Okay.
that will fit into various test cases.
Okay.
But then, honestly speaking, we could have done a better testing.
So the question was only the leading question. The actual question was when you had pretty much the entire system under your control.
Yes.
When you wrote this, you said then you had to build those pieces that were not there and all that.
Yes.
So testing also you had a lot more control.
Yes.
Now today, when you plug into existing frameworks or pieces and then you may not even know the big picture,
Yes.
how does one test?
No, so the way I look at it is that for the specific piece of, let's say, code or the logic that we need to implement, we need to clear about what is expected for that particular thing. So even though you may not, somebody has to know. Somebody who has a overall picture of the entire application should know how things will behave.
Okay.
But the thing is, for the code piece of the code that we are going to write, we need to clear what is the input and what is it expected to behave.
Okay.
And within the context, only need to be tested.
Okay.
So you don't need to worry about the other things.
Okay.
That's the way I would look at it.
Okay. See, then in the old IBM 360 days and all that,
Yes.
there used to be this concept called the chief programmer teams.
Yes.
Compared to that, today everybody wants to adopt an agile way of working where there are small independent teams that take a lot of decisions and then move ahead and so on.
Yeah.
So do you think this is useful or sustainable for building large scale applications?
I have not worked in Agile team,
Okay.
but I think the small teams are the way to go.
Okay.
In the sense that they are more, I think in the current scenario, developing large application, one has to be very clear about what they want to develop.
Okay.
I don't think we can develop applications that we cannot deliver to customer or usable to customer that takes longer than 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
If we are not able to give to a customer within a particular time frame, I think the scenario, the usefulness has changed already. So we need to react to that.
Yeah.
So in my view, we need to be able to deliver something to users quickly.
Okay.
Towards that, I think smaller team which can think and deliver quickly will be useful.
Okay. So where would the open source, you also mentioned the DECUS-C compiler and all that,
Yes.
where somebody creates something and then makes it available pretty much free for everybody else.
Yes.
If you are passionate about giving back,
Yes.
how does one create something when you say that we have to have a 3 to 6 month kind of a window?
Yes.
Any tips for someone who is looking for a problem to solve that they can give to the others?
Like the thing is, currently we have, looking at those days, we had to develop lots and lots of tools and frameworks to use it. All those things currently, I don't think we need to develop.
Okay.
The way I would look at is, in the current scenario, we probably need to choose the existing frameworks rather than develop one.
Okay.
Maybe you can customize it, you can modify it to suit a particular need.
Okay.
And in that process, we can contribute to open source in terms of modified framework, but not making too many change.
Okay.
So that is one aspect. And if there are some new application scenario, that's one thing we could do it in open source.
Okay.
But there are many tools and frameworks available which could be used, and there's no need to redo them.
So are these open source or do you get locked into some vendor technologies?
Both.
When you talk about frameworks.
Both.
Okay.
Some, yes, but as far as possible, if you can make, most of those are available
Okay.
as an open source.
Hmm.
Only issue could be the support.
Hmm.
So if there are, like for example, we had to do these office products.
Hmm.
If you had to do a programming interface to do that and generate reports and things like that,
Mhm.
there are open source tools available. If you want
Okay.
to generate an Excel file from just say Java or something like that,
Okay.
there are tools available.
Okay.
But then there are limitations, there are support issues.
Okay.
So if we are not able to fit into that,
Hmm.
we can we are forced to make use of some commercial stuff.
So since we were talking about databases,
Yes.
there are two questions that I have. Now, one is this whole big data.
Yes.
Now, today everybody talks about using big data, using machine learning, using as if data is a utility, is in a pipeline, and whenever you want to tap data and so on. So, is that leading to more unstructured data, or what do you see the trend with big data?
It is both,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that we used to have structured data, data that is in conventional way, like relational database that we used to have,
Mm-hmm.
where the tables, everything is relationships are all defined, and that is mostly used in transactional environment.
Mm-hmm.
But with the amount of information that is collected these days, be it in terms of pictures, be it in terms of the videos, in terms of all kinds of data that we collect, we need to look at a different way of storing them and retrieving data when needed.
Okay.
So yes, the newer architectures using the big data databases like NoSQL and various other, in fact there are umpteen number of NoSQL database management systems available, which could be used. So I think in a way, to manage huge amount of data we need to do that.
Yeah, good you mentioned NoSQL because that was my next question.
Yeah.
One popular misconception or popular understanding of this is that NoSQL means that there is no structure. I can do anything I want. Everything will be available.
Not really. Yeah.
Yeah. So while we normally don't get too deep into technology in this podcast, if you can quickly share the significance of NoSQL from a developer's perspective, somebody who's used to developing, let's say, more structured applications using query languages and all that, what is the change needed to get oriented to NoSQL?
No, it's I don't think the NoSQL databases can be used in all environment.
Okay.
It has its place. It's just like relational databases have its applications. The simplest example could be a key value pair.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, you access data based on a particular key, and then all the related data based on that particular key.
Okay.
I would say that is the simplest NoSQL database.
Okay.
Of course, there are different variations of how it is stored, how it is extracted, how it is retrieved, how. So based on that, there are different databases.
Okay. One of my favorite questions that I'd like to understand even for myself is we did talk about testing earlier.
Okay.
That from your experience, have there been any instances where some bug or a defect that took a lot of time or was complex before it was solved, and after you cracked it, said, "Oh, how did I miss this? Or how did we not do it like this?"
There have been many bugs, but I'm not sure I can recollect anything which is.
Anything in hindsight saying, okay, maybe we should have done it differently.
Okay, well, if you look at it this way, it's not really a bug.
Yeah, it may not be a bug.
Okay.
Yeah.
One, aspect, there are two things. One I mentioned was that if I had to do it, they develop the Gemini database, I probably would have chosen a for standard relational database way. The relational database those days were just evolving, so that's what. Second thing, which is still the one of the larger databases that work in global was the Cosmos. There, one of the thing was that we had to do the reporting. I was involved in both the database design and the reporting framework. Although the ETL and the nightly tasks that are done is a common practice, I think we are wasting too much of resource. Probably if I had to redo it, probably I would have spent some more time to see whether we could have avoided that particular process. I think there are too much of computer time and resources wasted there.
See, that is another challenge which I've heard from many. When you are quickly stitching together systems based on existing frameworks, existing applications, and each one of those components kind of has a different path of evolution. We don't know how fast they'll move or what changes will be there and so on. So when the data structure changes or how you communicate, there's always something that breaks down. And many times, even in large enterprises, when they try to accomplish some kind of rationalization, the first thing they look at is can I have an enterprise data model, which is a golden source, or how do I do that, and so on. But with everybody trying to develop an app today, which takes maybe a few specific transactions or a few specific actions and then automates them, what can be a way to at least talk to others at a data level?
I didn't understand.
We used to have these the directory standards, X500, X400, and all those kinds of things. For data, is there something that you see as a need or as something that is evolving?
I think there is a need for standardization. In fact, let's say, just I don't know whether it's really related, but right now, let's say I'm in I invested some money in a couple of mutual funds. The problem is each one of them report in their own way. And there is no standard whether they capital gain calculation or whether the way they report dividends, and all of them have a different way of reporting. There is no standard. So I think there is definitely a need for standardization, or at least something where somebody else can understand. Maybe if not one standard, there has to be at least some couple of standards. I don't think there is any standard in the way that mutual funds are reported. So similarly, there must be issues in every application. There is a need for standardization where you need to consolidate information. I don't know whether I answered the question.
You answered that, but at least I think in the financial sector, there are probably some accounting standards, some things that could be used, but when it comes to other applications, whether it is even maps or anything that we use on a regular basis, you switch from one phone OS to another phone OS, then probably you can't even or two different apps which say cab aggregation apps probably don't share information, or they don't want to probably. But as a user, I think it definitely introduces a lot of waste.
I think there is a need for a standardization. In fact, when we are mentioning about one OS to another OS, I was just another totally unrelated stuff. I don't know whether we can talk about it now. But is that the way the technology or use of technology is evolving, it is very, very difficult or it is very intimidating to elder citizens. Because I have a few neighbors who are kind of past 80, 75, but still in the current environment they are forced to use technology. force, in the sense, even I would call even using a phone as a technology. And simple things like Excel, which is very simple for us, we find it very difficult. We make it become very difficult for to differentiate or not differentiate, cut and paste to drag and drop to moving something. They feel they are all different things. So we need to find a way to make it comfortable or make it easy for them. I don't know whether it's totally unrelated, but I think there is some need to make technology not intimidating to leaders.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting point because to some extent, yes, technology can be intimidating, but the whole concept of what used to be called user friendly, is that being lost today when we develop applications, or is there that empathy for the user?
To some extent, yes. To those who are not in this particular, who are not technology, who are not into this, it is intimidating. In the sense, like even from moving from one OS version to another OS version, suddenly you drag to live, then you drag to up, and things like that will change, people get confused. But that being said, that will be there. But the thing is, everything, every day-to-day things in life today is technology driven. Whether you pay bills or you buy something online in the market or make payments, everything is, if you're not able to do that, life becomes difficult. And these things need to be made friendly. I don't know how, but for people who are not, who are, I would say, technology illiterate. I don't know whether that's the right word, but who are not into this, who are new to this field.
Yeah, absolutely. People do use that term. Okay. So, probably slightly going away from the main thing, but then there is a reason. You also have other interests. Okay? We want to talk about that. And the reason I'm asking is, when somebody is interested in something, probably even over time, when one ages, one is able to maintain that contact or that intensity. So is there anything that we can learn as software creators from other disciplines that will help us make these more, some people call it habit forming, or some people call it effectiveness improving, whatever is the purpose, so that it grows with the people?
I don't know that I can be able to answer that directly, but I'll tell you how I spend my day.
Okay.
The thing is, one is I listen to music.
Okay.
But I'm not, I can't differentiate various ragas and other things, but if something is pleasing to me, yes, I listen.
Yeah,
So I spend a lot of time listening to Carnatic music and also Western classical. And that makes me, but basically makes me happy. Makes me not agitated. Makes me cools me down.
Okay.
And maybe that has a positive effect. I also started a small garden in the terrace. It's taking away a lot of, although it's not very fruitful, I spend some time watering those plants. And when I look at some flowers blooming and things like that, I feel very happy. And I also spend time trying to help some of our neighbors in the areas in which they like to learn in terms of using Excel file to things like that whenever they need, or making some online payment. And another thing I'm trying to do now is trying to do some, trying Excel file is to consolidate the information that I receive from various mutual funds. I'm trying to see where how I can get all the information in one place. One more thing I'm doing is trying to manage a website. One of the temples that my friend has made.
Oh, nice.
So I'm not sure whether I answered your question, but this is the way I spend the day. So whatever I have learned, I'm able to put to use. But whatever I'm doing now, I don't know how it can be used in the future.
This is one question that I've had for many years. and I don't have an answer or I don't know how to proceed further also, is that when you take music, the way traditional music has been taught, or how people or how children start learning that, if it is, let's say, a set of core patterns that they have, and they talk about this tala, raga, melakarta, and then how ragas can be built, derived from each other and all that. When one gets into programming, and we used to talk about the gang of four, the design patterns and all those, can we borrow some techniques from the music world, to help people at least understand, appreciate and apply patterns quickly? Or by looking at it, they know this is like avaswaram, or this is not going to work, to make it productive. Whether there is a possibility of this kind of blend of music and software development.
I'm not sure I can answer the question, but I think both the disciplines require systematic learning. You cannot be, if you want to be a professional in that particular domain, listening and music is different.
Yeah.
Whereas if you want to perform musical program or you want to do programming, you need to learn. You need to learn. You need to spend a lot of time learning. So hard work is only. I mean, every day you need to spend, because may not be so in the music world. Things probably don't change. Programming world, things change every day.
Okay.
So you need to be lot more hardworking learning.
Okay. Any tips for people entering or people wanting to choose software career?
Let me be free talking.
Yeah.
One is, you need to think of entering computer programming field. You think you have an interest in it. You should not enter it just because it's another job. You need to have an aptitude.
Okay.
And in the process of interviewing for people, found that even people who are gone through computer science course find it difficult to do a simple programming.
Okay.
So basically that means that they didn't have aptitude in programming. So you need to choose the computer programming field if you have aptitude. You need to be spending time learning new technologies every day. You need to budget time to learn new things every day. And if possible, share your code with others, get comments from them, and try to keep improving that.
Okay. Yeah, so peer group, support networks, mentors, all that.
Because they will give different ideas of improving them, writing it different ways. So it could be helpful to both.
So, very nice, Viswesh.
Thank you, Shiva. It is a kind of honor for me.
It was very enjoyable, and there are more questions which I'll come back to you. And then anyway, we will also share, if you're okay, your contact details, so that if somebody wants to reach out to you, for help, for review. Yeah,
definitely. Thanks, Shiva.
Thanks, Viswesh. If you like the show and would like to share your experiences with the community, or know someone else who might want to do that, please get in touch with us at podcast@pm-powerconsulting.com. That is podcast@pm-powerconsulting.com.
Please rate the show on Podchaser, Stitcher, iTunes, or any other podcast client that you find us on. Please also share our episodes with your friends and others in your network. If you or anyone you know would like to be featured on our show, do write to us at this email address: podcast@pm-powerconsulting.com.